The hottest team in baseball keeps getting hotter. Let's talk about the Red Hot Royals next on Locked On Royals.
You are Locked On Royals, your daily Kansas City Royals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is another edition of Locked On Royals in the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. That's at JOHNYJ_15. And you can always find us on wherever you listen to your podcast. That can be Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, Odyssey, and YouTube. As always, though, be sure to hit that follow button and subscribe. For the first-time listeners, we bring you episodes Monday through Friday, 30-minute episodes, as well as our 60-second recaps. Just put up today's right before going into this episode. And you can expect these episodes to typically come after the game. It always works out well when we have a day game during the week. But sometimes they're a little bit later on in the evening. Sometimes I bring you them before the game. So what I would say is we're pretty flexible around here. We don't have an exact timestamp as to when these episodes come out, but you can count on those 5 episodes a week. Now, before we dive into the first segment today, I want to let you know that today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Get started today over at FanDuel. Just like last season, the Royals took care of business against the Chicago White Sox in their first meeting. Last year, the White Sox came to Kauffman Stadium in early April, and it's almost what sparked the Royals into their run of being a winning ball club for the rest of the year. We can recall in 2024 that the Royals started 2-4, right? They had lost the series against Cleveland, or Minnesota, excuse me. They had lost the series against Baltimore, came back home and swept the White Sox over 4 games. And they took that momentum into the next series and the one after that, and so on and so forth. And you looked up in May, and they were 15 games over 500, and they never dipped below that again. They lost their wild card spot later on in the summer, but regained it quickly. And then in the second half of the season, they didn't really look back until September when they had the 7-game losing streak. Vinny Pasquantino was hurt. Lucas Ursig was hurt, but they found a way to hang on to that playoff spot all the way up until the final day of the regular season. This season, it was a different time period when the White Sox came to Kansas City, not months apart, but they came to Kansas City coming off a series win against Houston, feeling better about themselves, but they were taking on a Royals team that's been an absolute buzzsaw ever since they left Detroit on Easter Sunday. And you can go back to that exact game and what we talked about on that episode, the Royals beating Tarek Skubal, avoiding the sweep, and avoiding a 1-9 road trip. 2-8 isn't much better, but to end that nightmarish road trip with at least one win, it allowed them to get on the plane, feel good about themselves, and carry momentum back home. They saw the Rockies. They saw the Houston Astros. They saw the Tampa Bay Rays. They saw the Baltimore Orioles. They've seen the Chicago White Sox, and they've gone 15-2 since Easter Sunday. A ridiculous stretch. They are the hottest team in baseball, without a doubt. And even though our second segment is more so about the frustration of how they've gone 15-2 and yet are still in third place because the rest of the division keeps winning. They're doing their part, and the Royals are doing theirs. I will say this, that even though you can be frustrated and, it's annoying to see them in third place, they're 2 games out of first. They might be 2.5 after tonight because Detroit has a doubleheader against the worst team I may have ever seen. And I can't believe I'm saying that one season removed from the Chicago White Sox, but the Rockies are just unwatchable. And they were unwatchable in the day doubleheader game, and I don't expect much more out of them in the night doubleheader game. So they might be 2.5 back. They might be a game and a half back going into their weekend series against Boston, which, of course, we will talk about to round out today's show. The important part is this 15-2 stretch has put them 7 games over 500, and we're not going to be focusing on the standings or playoff spots in May. But it is noteworthy that a bad stretch, hell, even a mediocre stretch over these last 17 games might have put them 7 games back or 8 games back. And a month and a half into the season, you've already put yourself in a bit of a hole. I mean, the Royals are in a competitive division. The AL Central was being scoffed at about 10 games into the season because nobody was playing well. Now you have 3 teams that have 22 wins or more. In fact, I want to say it's 23 wins or more. And the Twins have now won 5 in a row, so they're creeping closer to 500. And you got the ghastly White Sox, who the Royals just mopped up over 4 games at Kauffman Stadium. It's not as good as the NL West, which is the best division in baseball and one of the best that I've ever seen. But at least our last place team is better than the NL West last place team, which is the Colorado Rockies. There's not going to be, as I talked about in yesterday's episode, there's not going to be many stretches like this the rest of the year. You have to cherish moments like this over 162 because they're not common. The Royals are likely not going to have a 15-2 stretch again. It just defies odds in baseball. And baseball is a sport you don't want to pinpoint or make too predictable, or at least assume that it's predictable, because it's the exact opposite. You never know what to expect in baseball. I just talked about how I expect the Rockies to get rolled over in Game 2 of the doubleheader. Who knows? Maybe they roll over the red-hot Tigers in Game 2, and you can feel good about going into the weekend. Baseball is an unpredictable sport, which is why during stretches like this, you can't really define it. You can't describe it. Now, the Royals have played bad teams in this stretch. Of their 15 wins, 7 of them have come against the Rockies and the Chicago White Sox. If you've listened to this podcast before, you would know my stance on beating bad teams and how it should never be looked at as this negative. Well, they've won all 7 games against the White Sox and the Rockies, but those are bad teams. And it doesn't really tell us how good they are. As opposed to what? What if the Royals went 6-1 or 5-2? What are we talking about? Man, that's pretty pathetic. They even let those 2 bad teams take 1 or 2 games from them. I mean, as I brought up, the White Sox just beat the Houston Astros, who the Royals see next week, in the best-of-3 series. They won 2 of them. One of those wins was thanks to Mother Nature, which I thought a hilarious tweet out there before the series was that the White Sox best closer this year has been Mother Nature because they have 1 save on the year, and they were able to have the final 2 or 3 innings of that series finale against the Astros banged due to bad weather. I thought that was hilarious. But again, the Astros lost 2 games. The Red Sox, who the Royals see this weekend, lost 2 games against the White Sox and had to avoid a sweep on the series finale. So bad teams are ones you should beat up on. And I feel that if you take care of business like they've done against the Rockies and the White Sox, that can be the difference in you making the postseason or not making the postseason. And the offense was not perfect in the first 3 games, but today they absolutely ripped the White Sox apart. There was a position player on the mound in the 8th inning, and he did get 3 outs on 6 or 7 pitches. But Bobby Witt Jr. has a 4-hit game. Salvi drives in 3. India has 2 hits. Michael Garcia has a 2-run triple. Michael Massey's starting to heat up. Vinny Pasquantino's been hot. Drew Waters has a multi-hit game. Freddie Fermin has a hit. Hitting is contagious. And we know how phenomenal this pitching staff has been. And this question that has been gnawing at everybody is, well, what happens when the offense does play well? What happens when the offense averages 4 runs a game, 5 runs a game? We've seen what this pitching staff can do. Chris Bubich, 7 shutout innings. He piggybacks Michael Wacha's 7 shutout innings, who piggybacked Seth Lugo's 6 2/3, a quality start, giving up only 1 earned run, who piggybacked Cole Reagan striking out 11 in 5 shutout innings. Believe that even though it's the White Sox, 4 starters in this series gave up 1 earned run. 3 of the 4 did not allow an earned run. Didn't allow a run, period. The bullpen was lights out on Monday night. The bullpen was good on Tuesday night. On Wednesday night, not so much, but they still got the win. And today, you get Great stuff from Chris Stratton, of all people, striking out 2 in a perfect frame, and Steven Cruz strikes out 1 in a perfect frame. They're playing great baseball. They are the hottest team in baseball, and you need to cherish stretches like this. And if you want to be the pessimistic one and say, well, they're eventually going to come down to earth, you're exactly right. Things are going to even out. They're going to have a losing streak again. They're going to have a winning streak again. But they've won 6 in a row, and they've lost twice since Easter. They've lost 2 games. And in both of those losses, they went on to win the series. They lost against Houston when they had already shut them out in Game 1 and Game 2. And then they lost 3-0 to the Orioles last Friday, and then won 4-0 on Saturday, and had a home run derby on Sunday and won 11-6 or whatever it was. They have not lost a series since Detroit. Like, that is unbelievable to think about. With how poorly they were playing on that road trip, if you would have told me on that Sunday that they would go 15-2, I would have said that's the absolute ceiling, best case scenario. Everything goes flawlessly. Hell, they might have a perfect game in that stretch if they're 15-2. I knew there were some bad teams on the schedule. You just don't see many stretches like this in baseball. And when we look back in September on this team, if they are in the playoffs, if they have won the division, if they're the number 1 wild card team, we're circling this stretch because it is likely to be, and who knows how long it goes on for. Of those 25 games, do they go 23-2? Do they take this winning streak to double digits? I don't know. Baseball's unpredictable. You are wrong in trying to predict it. But do they win 20 of 25? Do they go on a losing streak after this? I don't know, which is why you cherish those stretches. And if they are a division leader at some point, you have to point to this stretch because they were not buried, but they were in dangerous territory when they were 8-14. And they had the worst offense in baseball. And the rotation, you just knew, wasn't going to be able to be perfect every single night. And yet, once the offense caught fire, the rotation stayed perfect. The bullpen got better. They are a buzzsaw right now. They are a freight train that is just destroying everything in their path. And they're not doing it in the ways like they've done it today, 10-0. They're winning close games. They're winning tight games. They are winning with 2 runs or less. They've won 8 games this year when they have scored, I want to say, 3 runs or less. It's hard to do that. You need to have great starting pitching and a great bullpen. They are getting that mix of all 3. Now, you could say the base runnings are still struggling from time to time. They're having those toot blands on the base paths. They're running into outs. Still, they are making up for it in so many other ways. Boston's going to be an incredibly good test. In fact, I'm going to say this. These next 3 series, which will end next Sunday, and that'll be the finale of this 25-game stretch we've been talking about, it'll be a huge test for them. Boston is playing good baseball. They're over 500. Houston is not playing great baseball. It's still the Astros at Minute Maid Park, where you got swept last year. We'll see if Yordan Alvarez will be playing in that series. I doubt it because he just went on the injured list. I don't believe he'll be eligible to return by then. And then you got the Cardinals, who at one time looked completely lost. Now they're on a winning streak of their own. That'll be a rivalry series at Kauffman Stadium and a sold-out crowd or damn near it for all 3 games of that series. A big test for them beginning tomorrow. Red Sox, Astros, Cardinals before they head off to San Francisco. And I'll be down there for that series going to Game 1 and Game 2. We're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, let's dive into the American League Central. At one point, it was mocked in early April. Now, it is one of 2 divisions in baseball that has 3 20-plus game winners. How impressive has it been? And who is bound to regress? We'll give you our thoughts next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I am your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. First things first, we want to tell you about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-tying shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Also want to tell you about that second sponsor, Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. That's Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off on your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. The American League Central has been a beast of late, and it was a division that going into the year, I had expected to see some regression. Detroit wasn't as aggressive in the offseason as I had anticipated them to be. I thought Alex Bregman was going to wind up there, which thank God he didn't, because having that 330 average over there at third base with that rotation, with that bullpen, the way Spencer Torkelson is playing, with the way that Javi Baez is playing, Riley Green, it's a dangerous Detroit team. And I know I caught some heat on this podcast for picking the Tigers to win the division. But so far, and through the first meeting with Detroit at Comerica Park, it appears that this is the best team in the division. They're not the hottest team. I will label that the Royals for right now. But they are doing what they did late last season, which is just continue to stockpile wins, stack series wins, and not really look back. Whatever they did the game before, it doesn't matter. Sound familiar? It's exactly how the Royals play. Whatever they did the night before, it's not affecting the way they play in the next game. And for Detroit, I will say that they've played Colorado, have won the first two games of this series. They have seen some weaker teams in the same way the Royals have, and they're doing what the Royals are doing. They're beating those bad teams. They are not like the first half Detroit team last year where they found themselves buried a little bit because against those lackluster teams, they would struggle. I remember before Oakland really took off last year, they had lost a series early on in Detroit, I want to say, and that set the course for them for a little bit. At least it felt like to me. And when the Royals saw them in May, they swept them. That series wasn't that close either. You weren't paying attention to Detroit until about August. And in fact, you were rooting for Detroit because they were doing damage to the Twins. They were doing damage to the Red Sox and the Guardians, and it allowed the Royals to sneak into first place late in August. Then they started playing really, really well, had the most impressive stretch I've seen in September in a long time, and they almost took a playoff spot from the Royals if it wasn't for the Minnesota Twins collapse. I mean, there was a series at Kauffman Stadium where it was just ugly, and Detroit was playing so well. And to start the year, they took on that pressure of being one of the better teams returning to this division, and they're 24-13. They've got game 2 of their doubleheader tonight at Coors Field. I expect them to win it. And they've been 7-3 over their last 10. So that'd be a 4-game winning streak. They'd be 25-13. And you would think, okay, that's just a really hot team in the division. The Royals have won 15 of 17, and yet here they are in third place, 2 games back. In fact, I should say they're tied for second place because the Guardians don't play today. They have the Philadelphia Phillies coming to town this weekend. But Cleveland's a team probably frustrated as well. No, they were the number 1 seed, or excuse me, the number 2 seed, but the number 1 team coming out of the Central last year. And they've played well this year, 22-15. They do sport a negative 14 run differential, which is one of the bottom run differentials in the American League. This early on in the season, I don't really pay attention to it that much. I mean, the Royals were a winning team, had a negative run differential. After today, they're plus 16. The Minnesota Twins are plus 15, and they are 18-20 on a 5-game winning streak. So 4 teams in this division have won at least back-to-back games or more. And Kansas City, of course, 9-1 over their last 10, winners of 6 in a row. The team that's right behind them is 4.5 back, and they've won 5 in a row, and they're getting healthier. The White Sox are already 14.5 games back. You look at the rest of the American League here. The Yankees are in first place in the AL East, once highly touted as the best division in the American League. So many heavy hitters, and I believe there's a lot of good teams in that division. But you've got Boston coming to town tomorrow. They're in second place, 2 games back, and they're 1 game over 500. That would be 4th place in the American League Central. The Rays and Blue Jays are both 16-20, 4 games under 500. The Rays have a negative 8 run differential. The Blue Jays are negative 39. And how about this? I mean, we've been talking about this Baltimore Orioles collapse. They are already 7.5 games back, 13-23 on a 5-game losing streak, a negative 69 run differential. And they're also posting an expected win-loss record of 11-25. So they're actually a little bit better than what they really should be. They have the 2nd worst record in the American League, only behind the White Sox, or I should say ahead of the White Sox, and they have the 3rd worst record overall. They are behind. Actually, excuse me, I take that back. I want to say they're 4th because the Pirates have lost 7 in a row. They're now 12-26. Just fired Derek Shelton, by the way. Rockies have the worst record. Then I want to say the Pirates do, or the White Sox, then the Pirates, then the Orioles. So you have the 4th worst record in the American League East. Then the American League West, the Athletics are the 2nd place team there. And the Mariners and the Athletics are the only 2 teams that are over 500. Astros and Rangers are 500 and 18-20, and the Angels are 15-20, 6.5 back out of first place. I mean, out of nowhere, because 2023 was such an abomination for this division, they have suddenly become the scrappiest division. They are the thorn in your side division that when you face them, you're going to expect good pitching, good defense, good bullpens, and they're going to wear you down. And I would say that for Cleveland, I would say that for Detroit, and I would say that for Kansas City. Minnesota can be, and in this 5-game winning streak, they are showing that a little bit. Their injuries, though, get in the way. The White Sox are undeniably a terrible baseball team, but the other 4 teams in the Central, they are a tough out. And after the season they had last year, you can call them the White Sox merchants, and that's how 3 teams went to the playoffs. But they're beating up on good teams out there, too. They are playing well against good teams out there. And we'll see what it looks like in June and maybe later on in the second half if they have 3 teams that are hunting for the division crown. And that's what I expect right now. When we look at this division in July and August, I expect there to be 3 teams in the hunt to win the division. And that 4th place team won't be that far out of a wild card spot. It seems to be the theme of this division. It's been frustrating, but it's also been very impressive. And the Royals, especially for Royals fans, should feel very proud that they're hanging around in a very tough division. If they were 23-16 in first place in this division and everybody else is under 500, yeah, you'd feel good about first place. But how good is your team really? I feel those top 3 teams in the division are good baseball teams and would be a tough out in October. Okay, we're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, let's preview the upcoming series against the Boston Red Sox. That's next on Locked On Royals. You are tuned into Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Johnson, and you can find me on Twitter or X at JohnnyJ_15. The last sponsor we want to give a shout out to is Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts, where each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep you feeling fuller longer. So get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more today. The next team coming to Kansas City will be the 20-19 Boston Red Sox. They are 5-5 over their last 10, and most recently just won a series over the Texas Rangers, who had fired their hitting coach. But today, the Red Sox do shut them out. They get 2 in the second, they get 1 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, 1 in the seventh. A 5-0 win over the now 18-20 Texas Rangers. Alex Bregman has been phenomenal for Boston. Rafael Devers, after his catastrophic start to the season, has come on strong of late. And it is a team, as we knew last year, being one of those wild card teams in the hunt, that can do some serious damage over a 3-game series. And I'm talking about that offense. They did lose Tristan Casas for the year. That was somebody you would have had to worry about with the power on display. But Wilyer Abreu, he's been brought up a few times in our Mailbag Friday segments. He's going to be somebody coming in with a little bit of momentum, homered a couple of times against the Rangers bullpen. Alex Bregman, who does hit 250 off of Michael Lorenzen, the guy getting the ball tomorrow, going up against Hunter Dobbins of the Boston Red Sox, who is a rookie and only thrown 16 2/3 innings in his big league career, a 3.78 ERA. We'll talk about him here very shortly. But another pitcher, like we saw in the White Sox series, the Royals are not too familiar with. But Boston, you're going to have to worry about Alex Bregman, Wilyer Abreu, Rafael Devers, Jarren Duran. You also have some of those guys that can be tough outs, like a David Hamilton. You've got Cedeno Rafaela, though he's taken a few steps back this year. Great defender, great speed, can cause havoc on the bases. You've got Connor Wong as well, Trevor Story, not who he once was in Colorado, but somebody that, as I brought up, can do some damage in that lineup. So there are some stars. There are some heavy hitters in that lineup. It's not the old Boston Red Sox, of course, with David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez, but it's a lineup you have to take very seriously. And this is a good test for a Royals rotation that will be throwing their ace on Saturday, their number 2 pitcher on Sunday. But to me, a lot of this comes down to what they get from Michael Lorenzen tomorrow. Didn't have a very good outing against Baltimore. Gave up a lot of solo home runs. It also was in a ballpark that had the ball flying out on that Sunday for whatever reason. Where the Royals set their franchise record for home runs in a single game at 7, Lorenzen was fortunate that the offense was on a heater like that. But tomorrow, got to get back to the basics. He's been very good at home, and he'll have a good test against the Boston Red Sox. But for some of the guys that have seen him, as I said, Bregman is 1 for 4 in his career off of Michael Lorenzen. You also have, I want to say that's Romy Gonzalez. Yeah, Romy Gonzalez is 1 for 2 off of Lorenzen in his career. Trevor Story is 0 for 4, and Abraham Toro is 0 for 3 in his career against Lorenzen. For Dobbins, no at-bats. No at-bats for any Royals hitter in this lineup, with him being a rookie so early on into the season. There's just not much of a scouting report to him. And his last outing, though, he gave up 4 earned, 7 hits, and 5 2/3 against the Minnesota Twins. He tossed a quality start against the White Sox back on April 18th, 6 innings of 1-run ball, struck out 6, didn't walk anybody. And then he gave up 2 runs in 5 innings, 8 hits against the St. Louis Cardinals on April 6th. So he's going to be throwing for Boston. Lorenzen will get the ball for Kansas City. First pitch at 6:40. I will be out there as a fan, and I do expect there to be some large crowds this weekend. Royals are red hot, fantastic weather, and a big market team like the Boston Red Sox coming in. Saturday's going to be great. You'll have the all powder blue look. Cole Reagans will be on the bump. First pitch, 6:10. And Garrett Crochet is going to be getting the ball for Boston. Of course, the ace of the Red Sox. He has been so dominant this season. And he's got a 1.84 ERA over his last 7 starts, a 2.02 ERA on the season, 56 strikeouts in 49 innings, one of the top strikeout guys in all of baseball. He went 5 innings and gave up 1 run against the Minnesota Twins last time out. Also went 7 innings of 2-run ball against Toronto on April 29th. And against Seattle, he did give up 4 earned, walked 5, struck out 9 in 5 innings of work. It's just a guy, though, that you'll be lucky to get maybe a few off of. And if the Royals play like they did today, they are going to have some success maybe off that Red Sox bullpen, because that's where the Red Sox really do lack. They've got a weaker bullpen. That was an issue for them last year, and it's once again an issue for them unless Aroldis Chapman's out there throwing 103 and 104. Good news for the Royals. Lots of experience off of Garrett Crochet. Mark Canha's 1 for 5. Freddie Fermin's OPSing over 1,600 against him in his career. Michael Garcia's got 3 at-bats against him. India's faced him 2 times. Luke Mailey's faced him 2 times, OPSing at 1,000. Michael Massey's got 1 at-bat against him. Perez has 5. Renfro's got 3. And Bobby Witt Jr. has 2. So lots of familiarity there. As for the Red Sox, who did see Cole Reagans at Fenway Park last year and in Kansas City, Alex Bregman just hits 200 off him in 10 at-bats. Rafael Devers is 2 for 8 off him in his career. Jarren Duran is 0 for 6. Gonzalez is hitting 167 off of him. Cedeno Rafael is hitting 400 off of him. Rob Refsnyder is 1 for 7 in his career off Reagans. Abraham Toro is 1 for 3. And Connor Wong is 1 for 8 against Cole Reagans in his career. That game will take place at 6:10 on Saturday night. Then the Sunday getaway game before the Royals head off to Houston to take on the Astros for the second time this season. Lucas Giolito, who didn't pitch all of last year, got hurt right before spring training, I want to say it was. He'll go up against Seth Lugo and his 3-3 record at 2.84 ERA. Giolito is 0-1 with an 8.38 ERA, only thrown 9 2/3 innings this season. And last time out, he really got roughed up against the Texas Rangers. He was fine against Toronto on the road, through a quality start, struck out 7 in 6 innings, but against the Rangers, a bad Rangers offense right now. 3 2/3, 10 hits, 6 earned runs, struck out only 2 and walked 1. And I know for a fact the Royals have tons of experience, like they did with Crochet, another former White Sox. They have a ton off of Lucas Giolito. Salvador Perez being the most notable, and these numbers are ridiculous. In 37 at-bats, Salvador Perez is hitting 432 off Lucas Giolito. He is OPSing north of 1,300. Drew Waters is OPSing north of 2,500 in 2 at-bats against him. Bobby Witt Jr. OPSing 1,000 and 18 at-bats against him. You also have some success from Luke Mailey, oddly enough, again, hitting 500 in his career off of Lucas Giolito. They do have some guys, though, that struggle off him, like Michael Garcia, Mark Canha, and Jonathan India. So that'll be the matchup on Sunday. First pitch, 1:10, Seth Lugo versus Lucas Giolito. Well, that'll do it for another edition of Locked On Royals and the Locked On Podcast Network. I've been your host, Jack Johnson. Thank you for making Locked On Royals your first listen today. For your second, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale and find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Tomorrow, it'll be a Mailbag Friday, so leave your questions below on this video, or you can direct message me, or you can just respond to my tweet I'll put out there a little bit later on this evening. But until tomorrow, you take it easy, Kansas City.